Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Fastman Spotlight. I'm Brian Lapointe from Fastman, and today I'm pleased to be here with Patrick from the government of the Northwest Territories, which is located in Yellowknife, Canada. And for those interested in the geography, that's about 1,200 kilometers or even 800 miles north of our friends in Calgary, Alberta. So, we're really approaching the North Pole at this point today. So anyways, the intent of today's session is to have a conversation and to learn more about how, the government of Northwest Territories is using the OpenText Content Suite system and where the Fastman tools are having a high impact. Worth noting, this is our third spotlight we've produced over the past several months, and they have been very well received by the Content Suite and extended ECM community. It's always nice to really spotlight successful Content Suite deployments overall, and so as to also share best practices with the community and network with everyone. So I really welcome Patrick. Appreciate him taking the time to speak with us today. So I'm just going to move it along real quick here and kind of do a little intro here. The government of Northwest Territories is a long-standing OpenText customer using their information management system in a high-performance manner. Being located in the northmost region of Canada, as you can see here, they have a population of just over 45,000 people, yet a landmass roughly equal to France, Portugal, and Spain combined. It's a big place. They're also, as some of you may already know, are very famous for their Northern Lights experience, along with many other tourism opportunities too. So I encourage you to check it out. I find it to be very interesting myself. Of special interest, I also recently learned that their government, the Northwest Territories, is actually governed under what they call a consensus system of government, instead of that party politics that we're all used to in our own communities and so forth. So I found that to be quite intriguing too. So hello, Patrick. Would you like to introduce yourself and explain to our audience today your primary use cases for the Content Suite system?
Sure. So my name is Patrick Bzile. I'm the Director of Enterprise Information Management with the Department of Infrastructure within the GNWT, so Government of Northwest Territories. I've been working for the GNWT for about 19 years now, in various capacities, all within the IMT sector. Although born in Sudbury, Ontario, I've been up north for most of my life. We lived up here when I was a child between the NWT and Nunavut back then. So prior to moving north, I'd worked a few years with various federal government departments in Ottawa, helping them out with their ERMS solutions. So back then, this would have been like CDM, ARDMS, Infobank, so the various departments using those. Just like any other organizations that have implemented these types of systems, our primary use case for moving to Content Suite was to build upon the existing investments that we already had within recorded information management, by enhancing the abilities to share information across the GNWT with the various departments, applying standardized permission models, providing more efficient means and methods for enterprise-wide collaboration on workflows, things like that, ensuring compliance with legislative requirements, all those things. Just to move forward with it. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's great. And thank you for that background too. So maybe next up here, let's take a look at how you're actually powering those Northern Lights up there, let's say. But maybe you could walk us through your OpenText journey a little more in depth. You seem to have started from the early days of, were they even calling it Content Suite back then, or was it LiveLink?
No. So when I was hired on, I was the RIM specialist. So back then we were strictly an IRIM shop. So we're handling managing the physical records between the departments and our record centers. We have 5 record centers that we manage up here. So yeah, we're strictly using IRIMs just to manage that process and the classification systems. And then when we started looking into the ERMS solutions, that's when we looked into the filing bin back then. Some of you might get a chuckle out of that one. That was a bare bones solution of just pretty much dragging and dropping emails directly to IRMs and tagging a file number to it, right? So it was pretty simple, very limited functionality. So based on my previous experience with IRMs and eDocs, we decided to purchase the eDocs and integrate it with IRMs to make our own version of RDIM, so to speak. So we did that for a few years, but again, that didn't have all the functionality that we were looking for. So the next logical step was to see what else was out there, and because we're already an OpenText customer, LiveLink seemed to make the most sense. So in that case, yeah, we jumped to LiveLink 9.7.1 back then, migrated our existing IRMs eDoc solutions to that platform. Just look at my notes here. So during that phase, we needed some sort of migration tool to get stuff off the network drives and into Content Suite. So that's when we had looked into BDM. Yeah, so the bulk data manager from Fastman. So that became part of our solution when we were to implement this across the GNWT. So yeah, so I mean, we've been using this tool for a number of years now to do the migrations. It's pretty simple, straightforward to use. Yeah, the whole point of that is to have the content into the system before we provided the training and all that. So it's familiar for the employees when they get their training. So after using this for a few years and becoming more familiar with the Content Suite platform, we found we needed to add some additional functionality to it just to allow us to grow the system. This is when we purchased the Content Intelligence module along with email management for MS Exchange and the Fastman Permissions Manager module as well. So this allowed us to enhance the system by developing a wide range of different workflows, workflow processes, customizing the look and feel of our Content Suite platform, and positioning ourselves for future application growth. So yeah, to date, we fully implemented, we call it DIMS, that's our name, so Digital Integrated Information Management System. That's kind of what we call our platform. To about 85% of the GNWT so far that were initially in scope. So, I mean, the main delays with implementation has been the department's ability to be ready for our implementation. We had a bunch of readiness criteria that they had to meet initially, like having proper classification schedules in place and cleaning up network drives and all that sort of stuff, right? So, yeah. I mean, every department has different resources around records management, information management. So some were, ahead of the game, some weren't. So, so we've since changed some of the readiness criteria to, allow for certain things to happen. So we just want to get this done and get to 100%.
Right.
What else? Yeah. So I mean, we're currently running Content Suite 21.4. We try to stay as current as possible with the releases every year around Christmas time. That's when we normally do our big upgrade, and then throughout the year, depending what patches are released through OpenText. If there's any critical ones that we need to apply, then we will. But yeah, we try to maintain the one big upgrade per year, just so there's minimal downtime and that sort of stuff. We're still mainly using Classic View, only because the look and feel is what customers or clients are used to. I think going to Smart View would be a huge jump, but we're taking baby steps to move into that realm, especially with some of our workflow solutions and landing pages and things like that. We're trying to build some of those using the widgets within Smart View and slowly introducing it that way.
The journey.
Yeah. So next up for us is we're working with OpenText Core Sign. So entering the digital signatures end of things, trying to see how that all works within our workflows. So we've been testing that out. Also testing out Core Share, which is pretty much the replacement for TempoBox, because we're a TempoBox shop as well, and fortunately OpenText will be sunsetting that soon, so we need to find alternate solutions. And we're also looking at integrating content server using the API with other in-house applications and things like that. So,
no, that's very interesting. Yeah, we at Fastman we get involved with. I'm glad to see you looking into e-signature. We get involved with that quite a bit too. We're more on the DocuSign side. We've been a partner with for years, and we have a native connector that works right out of the box with Content Suite too. So,
oh yeah.
It's very popular right now. A lot of productivity with electronic signature. So you see people pushing for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Maybe we spend a little time here, just a little bit of time here before we kind of dive in further. But let's what tips would you share with the Content Suite community right now? It seems like you've been a long journey here. What would you share before taking on an information management project? Would you like to share your thoughts on that for best practice?
Sure. So training and documentation is key. You can never have enough training materials, and you have to provide different types of materials as well, not just your standard PDF training guides. I mean, in the world that we live in now, you need video tutorials, you need screenshots, you need live sessions, recorded sessions, all that sort of stuff, because everybody has different ways of ingesting and learning, right? So you have to look at all these different ways. So for a lot of the things that we introduce, we have the click-through tutorials, videos. We have YouTube channels dedicated to kind of our DIM videos, things like that, right?
You do. That's good.
Yeah. Customer support's another key, another big one for sure. You need to have a knowledgeable support team that can provide support on the fly, because I mean this is in front of everybody's face, right? Every time they're saving a document or saving an email or doing that sort of stuff, it's if there's an issue when they're trying to save a document, you can't have them call a help desk and wait 3 days before they get their call resolved. So it needs to be immediate. And the staff that are providing the service, they also need to be aware of not just records management, information management, and the application, but everything else that comes with it. Like they need to be proficient in Office, for example, because it could be a Word issue or it could be an Excel issue or a browser issue. So they need to be well-rounded in the type of support that they give. And finally, just look for different tools to help out with your implementation. As you can tell, I mean, we didn't just stick with out-of-the-box Content Suite. We were always looking for different things that we can incorporate to make it easier for us as administrators and also for end users. So an example of that is the Fastman Permissions Manager. Out of the box, the open text permissions are complicated for most to look at it, and and this is going into our next slide here, but I won't expand too much on this. But yeah, it lets you view permission, security, and that sort of stuff. So just look for different tools that you can add to your tool set.
No, that's good. That's good. I hear that a lot from some of my other customers. It's almost like whatever you anticipated for training, maybe double it, right? Yeah. That's the comment that I hear. And it's interesting how you have a YouTube channel, for your training materials. So you probably have a little smaller video. It's always good to get a common question to just point them to it, right? That's a good way to handle from a support perspective, rather than having to walk them through it every time.
Yeah.
Right.
And you need to keep these things updated as well. You can't just put something out there and not look at it for 2 years because it's outdated within a month or two, right? So you need to keep these things current as well.
Yeah. And there's a big ecosystem of tools and partners out there, like Fastman. We're part of the program, but there's we're not just the only one out there. So I do see that, instead of trying to build something yourself, it's a long-standing platform, so that best practice is probably already out there somewhere potentially.
Yeah.
Good tips. Thank you for that. Okay, so let's kind of let's make a little transition here, and for this next section. Folks, we're going to take a closer look at where the Fastman tools, this is us Fastman here, are having a high impact at the government of Northwest Territory. Patrick's deployed, he mentioned already, 2 of our solutions, which is we're well known, our flagship product, it has been the Permissions Manager solution, but we also have another tool, BDM, which is the Bulk Data Manager. So we'll talk about both here. And they're both very useful in basically increasing your information integrity of the system too. So Patrick, what's your favorite tool and why?
Well, I mean, obviously permissions manager. What we like about that is, I don't know if you're able to see on that screen or not, but we've got supplementary markings and security implemented as well within our environment. So when you're viewing the permissions through permissions manager, not only does it list like a nested view of the permissions, it also identifies, you know, the security markings and the supplementary markings all in one bird's eye view. So that is huge for us. Another thing that I like with it is you're able to click on a group to see who the group members are. Again, I'm not sure if you're able to see that there. Whereas the out of the box permissions, you're not able to do that. It's pretty much another screen that you have to go into to go see who's in the group. Whereas here, you can see how many people are in the group, click on it, and then just list everybody in the group. Another one, I don't know if you want to switch screens.
I can. Yeah, I know on the next slide here, right? We have another use case. Yeah.
Yeah. So another issue with out of the box is the only way that you can see the permissions is if you have like the proper permissions on the content server object to be able to edit permissions, right? So with Fastman, we're able to just add a permissions manager. So you just need CC contents to be able to see who's on the list. So that was a huge feature for us as well. We have that incorporated in a lot of our, you know, our workflow processes and things like that, just to allow your regular end user to be able to manage or see the permissions and that sort of stuff.
What's that do for them? That's a very popular feature that we have. You can't do it out of the box. Permissions manager lets you basically see the permissions you have without having the rights to edit it is basically what it's solving on, right? So yeah. What's the business value? Why do they need to see that?
Well, if they wanted to share it with somebody else, or if they wanted to, you know, send a link to another colleague, but they want to make sure that this colleague will be able to see it before sending it. So that would be one way of doing it.
Right.
Just do a quick lookup, and then if it's, a lot of ours are based on groups. So by, you know, being able to click on the group to see who's in those groups, then that's a quick, short way of finding out. Yeah. Yeah, so another key feature for us as well is the ability to apply permissions down to certain levels. So when we're, say, setting up a new folder structure, we allow users to only start adding content down, say, at the secondary level, for example. So we want to be able to lock down the first 5 levels. So permissions manager has helped us to do that without having to click every folder individually and manage permissions. We're just able to kind of apply permissions once, go back to the top and say, okay, now we just want to limit, you know, these 5 levels to CC contents, and then click apply, and then we're done, instead of clicking every folder.
That's a common one. You can see right now how you have your folder structure. This is your folder structure, and then how that third level differs. It's in the dashboard displaying that you can tell. Obviously, it's differing from the top 2 layers. So being able to, because I think when you go to set permissions in OpenText, you can either do the first level or all levels, basically. Yeah. Right? You can't like say just go down to the 5th level, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So fantastic.
Yep.
No, the dashboard view is everything. I think being able to see everything, including your supplemental marketing, security clearances. I think the other thing, I don't know if you use it, I suspect you do, but we can even display the Brava settings as far as security goes too in that dashboard. So then when you have to go and triage and troubleshoot, you got one place to go and see it all, rather than having to go to every object level to kind of diagnose it and try and remember how it's set up, right?
Yep.
So, great. Let's take a look at another scenario here you mentioned to us, right? So tell me about this. This is really popular too. This is another one that we hear about all the time, this one here. How do you guys use it?
Yeah, so like I said, a lot of our workflow solutions are based on groups. So we have a high turnover of staff as well. So there's always people coming and going. So this one's huge for us as well, because it allows us to quickly pull up an existing user, find out what groups they're part of, and then transfer those groups over to whoever the incoming person is, for example. So it just, saves a lot of guesswork and having two screens open and figure out what groups they're part of. So yeah, it's a simple compare groups, enter the old username, new username, here we are, merge them, and then they have the same access rates and DIMs. So that's a big time saver as well. It's all these little things, right? that just end up being huge in the end.
No, it's, Permissions Manager, it's been around for quite some time now. It just, we keep doing quarterly releases and enhancing different pieces to it. And, we talked about a few things that it does here, but then is that it can do search on permissions. It can give you can search on your permissions and return a result, and then you can take action. You can add content to a collection and then run Permissions Manager on a collection. So you can start to use the fundamental building blocks of Content Suite and then make those bulk changes to your CIS model if you need to, or to your content as you need. And then from an audit perspective, I hear from a lot of customers that being able to see how it's set up allows you to demonstrate to others that you're operating to your security policy. So it can also save people a lot of time in that area too. And if there's ever a challenge, I don't know if we didn't mention it earlier, but you have the ability to roll back, right? So we have the rollback capability. So if you made some change today that changed 1,000 things, to go back and fix that by hand would take 1,000 clicks or more, right? So now you can just hit rollback and go back to like sometime in the future, in the past, and it would just correct everything for you at that level.
Yeah, we've used that one a few times as well.
We sometimes call it the oops button. I made a mistake, right? I made this mistake and made all these changes. How do I correct it, right? So one more. I think we got one more thing. We're going to talk a little bit about BDM, and so forth. That was great. Those are probably some fantastic examples of how Permissions Manager vastly improves, the onboarding of users to the system, and as you mentioned there, and that I think what we find, what I hear in general, is that permissions management is the #1 incident type in maintaining OpenText Content Suite. So it saves you a lot of time there. But next up, let's talk about your data migrations from network shared drives. This looks like your screenshots here. What was the scope and size of the effort in terms of data transfer, including metadata requirements, or why did you choose Bulk Data Manager for the job?
In all honesty, back then it was very inexpensive to get going with a tool that we'd be able to use to ingest data. We were looking at different options back in the day, but yeah, this one came out for something that, for our simple requirements, it did the job, and it was relatively inexpensive to acquire, and then the annual maintenance support is inexpensive to keep it around as well, right? So it meets our requirements. In terms of amount, it all depends on which departments and divisions that we're migrating content from. That varied over the years. Sometimes it could be 30,000 documents, sometimes it could be 1,000. It all depends, right? But the way that we would try to do it is try to limit, have different import sets versus having one large one at 50,000. Try to break that down into a bunch, just in case there's a network failure or anything like that, and then you don't have to restart. And that also allowed us to have. This is all, you can either base this off of the spreadsheets or just scanning the network drives. So we were able to, just set up our imports ahead of time, look at the spreadsheets, massage the data, do whatever we want to do before we import it, and then just, load it in. We never really used.
I can see from your log files you were doing a few jobs back in January, bringing stuff in too, right? Were you working on, was it audio files or voicemail file? What were you trying to bring in earlier this year?
No, we were just testing out bringing in emails. So
emails, right?
MSG files. So luckily we're able to bring those in off the network drives. And then OpenText also has a email metadata utility. So in conjunction with BDM and that utility, we're able to kind of marry the two up together and extract all the metadata out of the email and turn it into like an email subtype instead of a document subtype. So, yeah.
Interesting use case.
Yeah. So, I mean, for the remaining departments or divisions that we have left, yeah, we'll use this in conjunction with other tools that we might have to do the migration, depending on what the requirements are. So, just another tool for us to use. Yeah.
No, fantastic. No, what's nice I hear from people too is that it's once you have it available on your in your environment and so forth, it's a client that you can keep for yourself centrally to do the job, right? Or you can push it out to different subject matter experts as you do this, because they know their data. So no longer is it like you're talking to a department and they got to somehow create a spreadsheet for you to do the import.
Yeah.
You can just give them a client and let them do the job themselves.
Yeah.
And they can it's easy for them to do that. Or you get out of the need to script it somehow, right? Bring the stuff in, because you basically have an application that you can just drive to bring your content in. So
yeah, exactly.
I find that helps.
Yeah, and we also wanted something that maintained the metadata. So keeping the original dates were key for us, just so we could run dispositions on it after we migrated in, that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of other tools out there that sure might bring it into the system, but it doesn't maintain, the dates and that sort of stuff. So.
No, that comes up all the time. I mean, you have it on your shared drive and it was created and modified when it was, and you want to bring that into Content Server and still know when it was created or modified by and make those changes. So, and we're only talking about there's several modules that are built into the bulk data manager. So we're talking about the just the low taxonomy module is what we're displaying here, and it's used for taking from any external network drive that you can get to. It could be OneDrive, Bach, wherever you have it located. If you can get to it, you can bring it in and then assign it metadata as it comes in. But the other thing you can do is you can run Bulk Data Manager on content that already lives in Content Server. And what a lot of people want to do is update like the category and attribute data on stuff that's already within Content Suite. So there is a module called Load Update Attributes. So you can use it to kind of read that data and make any changes you want to your categories and attributes on content that's already in Content Server as people start to evolve the system. So great. Anything else to say about BDM? Just all good? Does its job?
I mean, it does its job. It's a simple little tool once you have it set up and figured out.
Yep. All good. Okay. Well, I think that's pretty much it. And again, thank you, Patrick, for spending time with Fastman today and sharing your valuable insights to the Content Suite community. I really appreciate it. I know that the Fastman technical delivery team really enjoys working with the government of Northwest Territory, and we find your use of Permissions Manager, really to fill some Content Suite gaps and helps to improve your end user experience. And we find the way you do it kind of truly innovative too. We learn from how you guys deploy these solutions too. Same is true for your use of Content Server workflows. I think you're telling me that you're heavily into workflow and process automation and the benefit that provides to you. And we just see so many other Content Suite users with similar data integrity use cases that fit within the Fastman sweet spot the way you're using it right here. So this is what we mean by best practices. So well done. I would say please just keep us posted on your journey. I'm sure we'll stay in touch. For anyone looking for Content Server workflow assistance, just a little shout out here. Fastman is a resource that has domain expertise in this area. It's something we've been doing from our managed services side for many, many years. And again, we really appreciate you taking the time to share your stories and expertise with the community. I know this will resonate with the many Fastman Permissions Manager customers that are out there. We all have similar perspective on getting the maximum performance out of Content Suite. And what we're trying to do is just reduce that administrative burden on central IT and our information managers in our organization. So again, thank you. And, enjoy those northern lights and that beautiful aurora. I love your background. And, we'll be talking to you out there. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right. All right, everyone. Thanks for your time. Bye for now.
Yeah.